Welcome back to the Zero Hour with RJ Eskow. I am Alex Lawson, sitting in for Eskow today, and I'm really excited to be joined by Kaylie Hanson Long, the National Communications Director for NARAL Pro-Choice America. Kaylie and I are going to be talking about the debate. Kaylie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's great to be here.
So, the debate was, I actually watched the debate entirely on a flight where I was flying from D.C. to San Francisco.
Wow.
Actually, it was a great format for watching the debate because you couldn't just stand up and pace around or anything like that. You just had to sit there and watch it the whole time. Tell me if, I don't think that I was alone in, there was some anxiety going into this debate because of a variety of reasons. It looked like Trump was he was pulling close in the polls, and it seemed like he was somewhat acting like a normal human being recently, but the bar had been set so low for him that's he wasn't actually punching puppies in the face. But the debate itself turned out to be much more of the puppy punching Trump than the pretending to be a normal person side of things. What do you think? Just give me your overall of how important the debate was and kind of what you saw happen there.
Oh, man. Well, the debate was historic for so many reasons, and it just goes to show that Trump just can't help himself. Even in the format when you need to be the most restrained, professional version of yourself, you're presenting yourself to the American people, he just couldn't help himself. He doubled down on these sexist attacks on Hillary Clinton and past insults to women. That has been such a drag on his campaign and his candidacy. And anytime this man is criticized, he just explodes. To be president, and it just showed at the debate again.
So, Kaylie, a lot of times what these debates are primarily, what people are trying to see is, can this person be president, right? That's the whole, are they presidential? Can America see this person as the leader of the country? And the Donald Trump that showed up was, he was a caricature of the caricature of himself. I don't even know. He was some sort of meta caricature of Donald Trump. From start to finish, I don't buy into this. He had a good 30 minutes. There were no good 30 minutes. He came out looking unhinged and unbalanced, and he just got more and more and more so throughout. And I want to go specific to some moments that Donald Trump had. The sexist attacks on Secretary Clinton, the doubling down on birtherism, on his incredibly racist years-long push. Really, the way he got into politics was this racist attempt to delegitimize our nation's first black president. There's a litany of these things that just Donald Trump looking exactly not presidential. But for a minute, I want to actually shift over to Hillary Clinton, because the Hillary Clinton that walked on that stage and spent those 90 minutes facing down this pretty unhinged, unprepared bully really was so prepared, so collected. And it's a debate there. She doesn't know what's going to come. And Donald Trump was definitely throwing some haymakers, but her poise and ability to really to partake in this debate and just make him, she laid, 6 or 7 traps that he walked fully into. I really don't understand how someone could watch that and even have them in the same league. And I think it all comes down to Hillary Clinton's, she just looked prepared.
Absolutely. I mean, she was so prepared, and it's hilarious. I mean, he's criticizing her for preparing for this huge moment, to have enough respect for herself and the American people to, walk onto that stage prepared. But, she's been prepared her whole life. She's been fighting for women and families, and NARAL Pro-Choice America, she's our champion because she has always put policies that help women and help advance women first. And, from the time she was First Lady in Arkansas all the way until she was Secretary of State, she has been working her entire life to be prepared to lead this country, as she's led, the state, as she's been senator, as she's led our foreign policy. And, Donald Trump walked into some pretty tough situations, and frankly, she is so qualified, and I don't even know if it would matter if, I don't know what he could have done to clean up his own messes. I mean, every time, no matter what, he seems to just not be able to help himself, no matter how many attempts the GOP is making to train him, to be a little calmer. He just can't do it. This is him fundamentally. He's just totally unhinged. He was that way again at the debate, and we are so just proud of Hillary for standing her ground and for being so prepared and for being for the champion that she always has been. Donald Trump is just a disaster, but we've kind of already known that.
So I know it's hard, but what do you think was Donald Trump's worst? There's so many, but what do you think was his worst moment there at the debate?
Gosh, well, the number of times that he interrupted the secretary, I mean, that is just so offensive and bad debate practice, bad manners. I mean, and you're doing that to your opponent, a woman who has fought her whole life, to protect women, and the statements she's making. I mean, he doesn't have an ounce of respect for her. He doesn't have an ounce of respect for any woman, for that matter, it seems, as evidenced by these recent sliming of Alicia Machado, and in the days after the debate. And that's what I certainly paid attention to. But like you said, it's hard to pick a moment. Say there were 70 times or around there where he interrupted the secretary. I won't bring it into the hundreds for you of bad times for Donald Trump.
Let me give you 3, and you have to choose one. I know it's hard,
okay,
but I'm going to give you 3.
I'll try.
Rooting for the collapse of the housing sector, right? So rooting for the Wall Street caused collapse of 2008, and saying that's business. Making money off of the misery of millions of Americans and being proud of it. So that's 1. 2, doubling down on his racist attempts, years-long campaign to delegitimize our nation's first black president, Barack Obama. And I know we all remember when he went on television with his $1 million for the birth certificate con. So, I mean, years of pushing this racist trope. Or being proud of paying, I'm going to do 4 because there's so many I have to. Being proud of paying no taxes, right? So paying no taxes, being a tax cheat, actually. And that whole part about, he's just that's the way it's done. So why should he not be a tax cheat? Or was it that his entire plan was some sort of massive, nationwide police state stop and frisk model? Which of those do you think is the? Oh wait, 5. Sorry. Or was it that his entire business model was based on not only being a tax cheat, but ripping off ordinary Americans by getting their labor and services and then stiffing them on the bill? Which of those 5 do you think were his worst moment?
Gosh, I got to opt out of this game, Alex. I can't. How am I supposed to pick? And what's not listed in the top 5 are, the fact that he was doubling down on sexism against women, and I mean the fact that he hasn't wised up to the fact that this is making him tank with women in the polls. It's incredible to me. So there's no way to choose. I mean, there's, countless. We've only gone into 5. I've brought up a 6th. I mean, we could talk about this all day. But, just the fact that we can sit here for, 15 minutes and rattle off all of the worst moments of Trump in this debate. I mean, all of them go back to the fact that he's totally unhinged. He's only out for himself. He won't do a thing to help the American people, especially women. And he's totally unfit to be president.
Completely and totally unfit to be president. I will, just so you know, I wasn't trying to list the top 5. They were just the 5 I could remember.
Just 5.
You led with one, which is, again, and he went on television the next day and doubled down on his insulting of the former Miss Universe, who he fat shamed, and he did it again because that is who he is. He's a horrible person. And all of those together.
It's a losing campaign strategy. I mean, what all this is doing, the more he tries to attack the former Miss Universe, the more people remember everything he has said about women in the past. Whether it's he wanted to punish a woman for having an abortion, to calling women bimbos or calling Megyn Kelly someone who had blood coming out of her wherever. I mean, this is a terrible strategy for him. So, his campaign has got to be reeling from the fact that he just can't help himself. This temperament is just so far afield and so opposite of anything close to presidential, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, we'll have to see what he does next week or the week after when the next debate is.
So what bringing up the next debate, I think this debate, the distinction was so clear. And one of the other things about this debate was that I don't think all the numbers are in, but it was at least close to record-breaking. It was close to the Carter-Reagan and levels, which was around 80 million Americans watched this, and that doesn't include people who streamed it. So, I mean, there were a lot of people who I think this is the first time that you could just watch the two and their temperaments and, how they handled things. And they were right next to each other on this split screen. And I thought that the debate actually, I thought that the moderator did a very good job. I think that, Donald Trump, showed himself to be exactly who he is, which is just a terrible person from start to finish. He's, he made his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited it. And he's just lived his entire life in that entitled, bullying way that was just incredibly apparent on stage. But going into the next debate, what would you want to see in the next debate? Especially because the next debate is going to have a lot of more. It's a grassroots town hall style, so we're going to hear the voices of the American people. What would you like to see in that next debate in the last 3 minutes here?
Yeah, so, what I would really like to see in the next debate is a discussion about abortion access. So far in this campaign cycle, there hasn't been a single question on a debate stage about the crisis of abortion access in this country. And I think that with a town hall format, that is the perfect place to ask this question. It's a crisis that impacts so many women and their families, and these two candidates have incredibly different positions on this issue. Hillary Clinton is someone who's calling for the repeal of the discriminatory Hyde Amendment, which makes the right to an abortion a right only for the women of means and women for a select group of women. And she is working hard to expand reproductive rights and protect the Affordable Care Act, which is the largest expansion of contraception we've seen in this country. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has said that a woman should be punished for having an abortion, who has a running mate that led the state that actually put a woman behind bars for an abortion. And he's being advised by a number of the anti-choice leaders that we have in this country, Marjorie Dansfellner from SBA List being one of them, an organization that has also endorsed candidates who want to punish women. And so these two candidates couldn't be more different on this true crisis of abortion access in this country, and that needs to be explored on the debate stage. I mean, the fact that it hasn't been so far does a disservice to women and families across the country who have been impacted by laws that chip away at access on the state level. And I'm really hoping to hear that discussion. And, NARAL Pro-Choice America has been working really hard to bring that to the forefront of the debate and to bring that to the moderators' attention. And hopefully we'll have some success next time.
Kaylie, thanks so much for joining us here on the 0 Hour with RJ Eskow. Kaylie Hanson Long, the National Communications Director for NARAL Pro-Choice America. Kaylie, in the last 30 seconds, where can people find and take part in getting this question to the moderators?
Great. That's a great question. So we would love for you to visit the Open Debate Coalition Facebook page and website. That is where we have teamed up with a number of groups. It's a bipartisan organization where you can go and vote for a question about abortion access. So that's the Open Debate Coalition. You can find them on Facebook and you can find them online. And we really hope that people will get involved. And otherwise, visit prochoiceamerica.org and sign up to be a member and a supporter, and work with us to make sure that Hillary Clinton is the champion that we have in the White House.
Kaylie, thanks so much. And we'll
Great.
be
Thanks
right
for having me.